What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Rideshare Hub. My name is Greg. Hey, before we get going on this video, guys, I want to tell you about an awesome app called GetUpside. It's a really sick app for saving like good money on your gas. The very first time you use it, you get 25 cents off per gallon. Go use that today. That's worth it. Watch how much money you save just using that 25 cents off per gallon. I always use Lyft's Shell rewards, and occasionally they do 25 cents off per gallon, and like I always save a good amount of money on it. So just using the app once will be worthwhile, guys. The really cool thing they do is for each person you refer, you get 1 cent off every time you fill up. So think about it, if you're referring 10 to 15 people, you're getting 10 to 15 cents off per gallon every time you fuel up. That's gonna really add up long term. Like if you look at that long term at the end of the year, you're gonna be shocked at how much money you save on your gas by using an app like this. That being said, guys, let's dive right in. If you were interested in that, I did leave a link and my referral code in the description, so hop on that. I'm on it. All the smart drivers are on it. Let's dive right in though. What I'm gonna talk about today is like, what are the real problems with Uber and Lyft? There's a lot. Like, there's honestly a lot of problems. It has gotten harder and harder to be like a rideshare driver. I've quit once before. I am back, but I have quit before. I know a lot of people that have quit for so many of these problems and reasons. And I think it's good to be aware of them, guys, especially if you're a newer driver and you don't really know what you're getting into. Like, here's the truth. Here's the reality of what these apps are. Like, here's the reality of what these companies are like. So one of the bigger problems is just honesty. I know most drivers have always been incredibly unclear about like how much money they're actually making. I always have too. We've always been told 25 cents per gallon. A recent study was done. I keep saying 25 cents per gallon. I've always been told that they take 25% of everything we make. I'm still thinking about the gas costs. Sorry about that, guys. So I've always been told that they take 25%, right? I have seen so many times in my earnings that that is not the case. As a part of a case study where over 14,000 drivers submitted their earnings, and on the study came back, on average, Lyft was taking 34%, Uber about 30%. So both higher than what, you know, they're reporting publicly. And what's funny about this test is then when they saw the data, they said it was baloney. And they said, no, there's so much more that gets into it. You really don't understand, It's not like that. I don't see how it couldn't be. I mean, it's my earnings. You either took 25% or you didn't. You know, it's pretty black and white in my eyes, but I don't own a massive ride sharing company like Uber or Lyft, so maybe I just don't know. That being said, it just always feels like they're being a little shady. Like with the earnings, it feels like they're never really being that honest. The other thing I hate is like whenever they're changing up like bonus structures, like they always phrase it like it's what we wanted. And I'm like, hey, don't pretend like this is what the drivers asked for. Just admit the truth. You're doing this because you need to make more money. That being said, that kind of transitions into my next point. My next point is that like one of the biggest things that like people don't realize, and I wouldn't really call this like a problem, but it could really be a problem, is that neither company has profited. I don't know how, like it almost seems like hard to believe, but like Uber specifically, like last quarter was at negative 700 million. They had a crazy huge profit. I mean, their profit was in the like 12 billion, I believe. But as you add it all down, they paid 8.5 bill to us, the drivers. They paid out a few billion in other costs, operating costs, and when it was all said and done, they were in the hole, negative 700. So the reason why that could be a huge problem for us is, what does that mean? Well, that means we're probably coming up on another rate drop. That's another problem. I'll go over that in a bit, but I believe that's going to be another rate drop or just another sneakier way of them taking money. Like, I don't really believe either company is all that dishonest. I mean, Uber has given us a lot of reason to, from the past lawsuits, to like really doubt them, but like a lot of the way I look at it is like, these are major companies. Like, these aren't small businesses that like aren't being watched. Like, they're being watched and vetted like pretty heavily. So like, I really wouldn't worry about like getting like really screwed over. What I would worry about is that I believe in that data I shared you earlier, the 30 and 35%. Now, what I believe is that it was something that was necessary for them to do to try and get out of the hole. So I've heard rumors that like they restructured certain surge like pricing things. So like a lot of times you're not getting the full amount of money you would have gotten on a surge because they need to take more. Now, here's the reality. We can all sit and moan about this all we want, but if they're not profiting, like, they have to do things like that. And like, we're either going to keep driving or we're not. It's either going to work for you or it's not. I know how it is. Like, I literally hate going out if I'm going to make less than like 18 an hour. Like, I to some degree feel like it's not worth it. Like, even though it still is, it's just, I've been spoiled. I've been spoiled by it. I know I can make 20 an hour most of the time. So if I don't, I'm usually going home. And if they do another rate cut, you know, that might mean that my ceiling is 18 per hour. I really hope to God that's not the case, but it might mean that. And again, like, I could sit and complain, but they have to do it. They're in the negative. So I believe that's a really big problem we face. Rate cuts in general have been a huge problem. Like, as you guys know, we've gone down from over $1 per mile to like, we're at like 60 cents per mile in a lot of areas. That's a huge reduction. Like, for anybody that's depending on this income, that's tough. That's like, you're going to have to work an extra 20 hours a week after a cut like that. So that I believe is another huge problem, because that just changes up like the viability of the lifestyle for so many of us. It doesn't really affect me because I'm really like very part-time now. But I know a lot of people that it affected to where they couldn't just work 40 hours a week. They had to work 55 to make it work. And, you know, it's like, I know someone who does this that I think is on disability. So it's like, that just sucks for him, you know, like there's not a lot of other options out there for him. So I believe it's a huge problem. The biggest problem I believe we're facing is the future of automation. I'm telling you guys, they are going to get a fleet of automated cars and there won't be room for drivers like us anymore. I could see that still being 5 years out. I've had people that in my car that have told me they think it's only a year out. I don't really know who's right or wrong. There's really no way of knowing, but I do believe like it is actually going to happen in the future. And so I think it's really important that like you're prepared for that, because I think that's actually the biggest problem out of everything we face, because we're gone. Do you remember that number I said earlier? $8.4 billion paid out to drivers in a single quarter. That's crazy big money. You're telling me they're not trying to think right now about how they can save all of that, because that's like 70+% of their profit. 12.1 billion total, I believe. 8.4 of that goes to the drivers. They find a way to not have to pay the drivers that much. Holy cow, they are going to do it. So I believe automation is what they're working towards. Like, I think the last I heard on the topic, they're looking for an investor to basically say, hey, I'll fund, you know, 5 million automated vehicles or something like that. I don't know. So automation, I think, is going to change everything for us. Now, it will take time. Like, not everybody's going to want to hop in a robot car. Like, but here's the thing. Most of you probably remember when Uber started. Like, I remember my mom even saying, oh, I would never get in the car with a stranger, even though she was taking cabs like every day. It was like so weird when people were saying that, as if cabs were so safe. But people were saying that, like, why would I do that when Uber first came out? Then they started seeing how cheap it was, and they're like, oh my God, I can pay $30 less than a cab. And you know what? Honestly, they're trustworthy people. They're going to say the same thing about the robot cars. So maybe for a time, there'll still be a small fleet of us drivers, and we'll be like the nowadays taxi cabs that barely get any rides, but still have some people who can't learn a new system. It'll be like that. And it'll just slowly catch on, and it'll eventually take over. But you think the rides are cheap now? Imagine an automated car giving a ride. It'll be half the cost, easily half the cost. I mean, 20-mile rides, you know, I'd probably make like $16, so they'll probably only cost $8, which is an insane thought, but that's the thing. My point being that People are motivated by money. And at the end of the day, they will do it because it's cheaper. So I believe it's the biggest problem we face with Uber, because I believe it's the problem that could put all of us out of a job or being able to do it. Watch some of my other videos on this topic. I really harp about like finding a good side gig or something else to rely on for income, because I think depending on Uber is a very, very risky thing to do long term. That being said, I'm going to let you guys go. Be sure to check out that link for the gas. It is so worth it, guys. You're going to love it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, give it a thumbs up, and I will talk to you guys soon.